Thank you all for hanging in there. You get a sense of how busy this congregation is by just today of how much is happening. Let's start off. Reverend Robert Latham, who's preached at this fellowship several times over the decades, says this about values. An institution is a group of people who have organized themselves around a set of common values. The purpose of the institution is to protect, nourish, celebrate, and perpetuate these common values. Unitarian Universalism is an institutional value carrier. And as a community, we exist in covenant, whose promise is to live out the social implications of these values and to institutionally model the kind of community that this living creates. So if you can't state your values, how do you protect, nourish, celebrate, and perpetuate them? If you can't state your values, you have no unifying language and will struggle to be an effective value carrier in the world. And if you don't agree upon your shared values, will you be more than a cluster of individuals with somewhat similar unstated values? Now, the huge question that we're going to wrestle with today is what are the core values of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Santa Cruz County? To address this in June of 2019 at a retreat, the board, your board, started out to define a few core values of this congregation. And we started out with a list of 240 values to try and say, what are they? And over the course, and all of these are honorable, good values, core values. And over the course of a day, that group got down to six, the six that you're going to hear about today. And we are working toward congregational agreement on some core values. Now, you've probably seen it in current happenings, sermons, small group ministry discussions. We've been talking about it, and the process of agreement as a congregation continues today. What are the core values that we truly want to protect, nourish, celebrate, and perpetuate? I want to insert here before we get started. There's a difference between your individual values and our collective community core values. Your individual values are what define you, what you hope to be, and what you hold to be true and important. But our collective core values are the ones at the core of what this fellowship promotes and strives to live into. And it's not that your values are absent in this congregation, because there's many on this list that are probably some of yours individually. Adaptability, balance, humility, discovery, security, logic, joy. Those may be yours, but we ask, what are ours collectively? Now we'll have a short explanation of what each of these six proposed core values means from members of the generosity team and the stewardship committee. Each of these people will provide a brief overview. And I believe Chuck is first.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted and can be heard.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I've been asked to speak on the topic of covenant. When I think of covenant, one of the first things that comes to my mind is my marriage. It's a bonding, and it's in a spiritual union. We have the promise to walk together through life with all its changes and to honor each other and our needs, and to do it in a give and take of mutual respect for each other's journey. It's a refuge of safety and a springboard for launching into the world. And it is not a contract. If you do this, I'll do that. It is a sacred promise, and it's built on love and personal honor. So, when I move to the idea of covenant in our congregation, I see many of these values. We make a spiritual commitment to each other. We promise to walk together. We promise to honor the changes we go through. We promise to take everyone into account. and it's built on a set of values and expectations. It's not a this for that. Covenant works at a lot of levels in Unitarian Universalism. Our fellowship is in covenant with UUA. We are in covenant with each other as a congregation. We have a covenant of right relations to guide us in our interactions. Individual groups, such as committees, small group ministries, can make formal covenants to guide their actions and hold themselves accountable. In the set of core values we're discussing today, we have divided the characteristics into categories, and these are accountability. Some of the key elements are showing up, acting with integrity, and staying at the table when things get hard. And safety. That's a key element to allow the next element, which is risk-taking, trying new things and leading to growth and transformation. And then there's welcoming, stretching ourselves beyond our easy comfort zone to make sure we're truly welcoming to all. And perhaps most important is commitment. Commitment to the common journey, to deep relationship and support. Covenant is foundational to all the values we will talk about today. It's what holds us together. It's how we stand, as the hymn says, as one strong body. And on that note, I pass, I think, to Russ next.
And I'd like to talk for a moment about another value, core value of transformation. Our Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Santa Cruz County, our mission statement says, quote, as an open faith community, we manifest our guiding principles and transform ourselves and our world through the power of love. Transform ourselves and our world. See, for me, these few words state a perspective on the world and constitute a value of this fellowship that the world is in need of transformation. Most of us agree with this, that our world could be more humane, more just, more compassionate, more loving. Our world is in need of transformation. Our world is in need of transformation, and accordingly, so am I, and so are you. Our mission statement says that we will work toward transforming ourselves. And since we are a dynamic force in the world, by transforming ourselves using the power of love, we will transform the world. This is how you change the world, by changing yourself. But what does the value of transformation mean to a church like ours? Raymond Paluzia is a professor of psychology at Westmont College in Santa Barbara and suggests this, quote, spiritual transformation constitutes a change in the meaning system that a person holds as a basis for self-definition, for the interpretation of life, and for the overarching purposes and ultimate concerns. A change in your meaning system and in your interpretation of life. Transformation is a value of a liberal progressive religion like ours because we are part of a religion that progresses. We evolve. We learn and adjust to new knowledge revealed. As a denomination, we are constantly transforming ourselves, each other, and we hope the world. We are not stagnant in our beliefs or perspectives, or even what knowledge is. We are lifelong learners who are open to different perspectives. And we use all sources of knowledge and religious thought, not as an academic exercise, but to help guide our spiritual evolution and our transformations. I'll end with a quote from Joseph Campbell. When we quit thinking primarily about ourselves and our own self-preservation, we undergo a truly heroic transformation of consciousness. Now, I believe Anne will give us our next value. And you're,
It is the value of curiosity and openness that draws many of us to Unitarian Universalism. UU Minister Reverend Robert Latham describes Unitarian Universalism as an open religious institution. He defines openness to the new as our heritage. What contributes to the distinctiveness of our religious experience is not that we are liberal, but rather that we are free to recreate our answers in the pursuit of truth. We look in different places for truth, which keeps emerging rather than being sealed or confined to a particular book or tradition. We look to our own personal experience, trusting it as much or more than the words from the past. Openness to different expressions of religion has shaped Unitarian Universalism. UU religious educator Annie Scott describes curiosity as a spiritual discipline. She states, when we feel ourselves resisting and feeling defensive, we can choose curiosity. Remaining curious and engaged as we face new situations and ideas is a spiritual discipline. And UU Minister Reverend Paige Getty reminds us that as a faith tradition, Unitarian Universalism makes sacred the right and responsibility to engage in this free and responsible quest as an act of religious devotion. Institutionally, we have left open the questions of what truth and meaning are, acknowledging that mindful people will, in every age, discover new insights. As UUs, we are committed to challenging dogmatism, to stretching outside our comfort zone, to engaging with others who think differently, and to cultivating curiosity. Sarah.
Thank you. Oh, or is it this? Carol, sorry. I think, all right. Hello. Yeah, good morning. I am presenting on universal inclusiveness. Unitarian Universalism is a religion centered on respect for all people, where differences are celebrated as greatly as our sameness. We have no shared creed, and together we form a force more powerful than the one person or individual belief system. From its beginnings, Universalism challenged its members to reach out and embrace people whom society often marginalized. Early Universalists believed in a God who embraced everyone, and this eventually became central to their belief and our core values that recognizes that lasting truth is found in all religions, and that dignity and worth are innate to all people regardless of sex, color, race, or class. As Unitarian Universalists, we do not have to check our personal background and beliefs at the door. We join together on a journey that honors everywhere we've been before. Holding inclusiveness as our core value says that we strive to open our whole way of thinking about what we do, to make room for someone whose way of being with us is going to be very different. So what are the behaviors and attributes that support and affirm the value of inclusiveness? Open-mindedness is one. We seek to open our ways of thinking to make room for new and different ideas. The small group ministry program is an example of that. It's helped us to develop open-mindedness skills. It's now going into its 6th year. And this past year, we also engaged deeply in dismantling racism through discussion and exploration. Again, opening our minds to new ways of thinking. This value also includes lifelong learning. And for us, this means we support a free and responsible truth for free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And our children and adult religious exploration program fosters that. We also see wholeness. We encourage and challenge one another to engage fully with our whole selves. Our Sunday services draw from a multitude of universal wisdoms, and our Growth Through Service initiative encourages each of us to explore our spiritual journeys leading to opportunities for meaningful service. There is also respect and belonging that we strive to uphold. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to share with you the value of justice and action. Unitarian Universalism is not a religious organization grounded in a creed, but rather a movement that's always tied to social justice actions, to theology rooted in love. Traditionally, we have worked to make the world a more just environment through involvement in various causes that sought and continue to seek improvement in human conditions. We have a legacy of deeds, not creeds. Our work for a better world calls us to unexpected places as we harness love's power to stop oppression. From grassroots community organizing to interfaith state, national, and corporate advocacy, in protests, marches, prayer vigils, press conferences, in homeless shelters, in prisons, Unitarian Universalists put our faith into action. The rightness of our theological beliefs cannot be understood without involvement trying to make the world reflect the values we hold. For that reason, social justice, and in particular, collective social justice, are required for a full understanding of Unitarian Universalism. Those are the words of James Luther Adams. And in the words of Martin Luther King Jr., life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? So the ways that behaviors, these attributes that support the value of justice and action, we could talk for a long time about the ways that we contribute, but one of them is witnessing. So we advocate, we organize and act for justice to live out the values of our faith. We ground our justice ministry in our mission, principles, and vision. We affirm and uphold the value of justice in our worship, our religious exploration, and in small group ministry. Another is partnering. We're stronger when we work together. We join with other churches, groups, and organizations and social justice ministries to make a positive difference in our wider communities. We work to serve and raise awareness and support and partner with people who face injustice. Caring, we show up in times of need. And then finally, service. As Unitarian Universalists, we live out our faith through service to others. We promote and act on justice as a core value of our congregation. Examples include shared plate, again, small group ministry, service projects, and winter shelter meals. Thank you.
Good morning. The final dual values selected by our team were those of love and compassion. To quote Unitarian Universalist Reverend Robert Hardy, love is shared and paid forward. Caring is love, and love and compassion are at the core of social justice. Why were love and compassion identified as a critical dual institutional value? Using both our fellowship's mission and the UU's definition of beloved community, the leadership agreed that love is the route through which many values and behaviors are supported, nurtured, and ultimately strengthened. As a faith community, we affirm unconditional love as a foundation and grounding rod for other actions in our world. The behaviors that support and reflect love and compassion are those that reinforce our Unitarian Universalist reach covenant. We strive to accept one another by operating with honesty and kindness while being mindful and accepting of healthy and appropriate boundaries. We show empathy and compassion by offering comfort and care to those in need via our pastoral care and caring connection teams. In the past year, we formed a phone tree to allow members to more readily keep in touch with one another during times when they could not meet in person. And also to provide a method for information to be shared. As a beloved community, we also responded to those displaced by last fall's fires by supplying needed shelter, food, water, and most importantly, a willingness to listen. We are both attentive to and accepting of our individual differences and beliefs. These behaviors are practiced and strengthened in our small group ministry meetings where we utilize deep listening skills. During small group gatherings, Beliefs, life stories, and concerns are shared in a safe and supportive environment, free from the interjections or judgments of other group members. We are committed to holding up our vision of beloved community and transformation through the power of love in all of our interactions and activities, both within the fellowship and in the wider community. We agree that as individuals, we join together in an interdependent relationship of love, mutual respect, and care that seeks to realize justice within the community and broader world. I want to thank you for allowing me to be part of your community and as well to be able to participate in today's activities. Russ?
Thank you. The next part of this town hall meeting is that momentarily you're going to see an invitation to join a breakout group. Each one of these 6 breakout groups will have a facilitator representing one of the 6 values that you just heard about. So I'm going to do this, and if all goes well according to Zoom and technology, you should see something. We will be in these rooms for 20 minutes. And I will give you 1-minute warning when that's over, and you'll automatically return to the main room after 20 minutes. Have a fruitful, beneficial discussion.